Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Connor had always been the observant type, but quietly so. He was someone who trusted until reality proved otherwise. When he married Vanessa, he thought he had found the life partnership many only dream of. She was charismatic, ambitious, and carried a strong presence. She had opinions on everything and refined taste. As a high-end real estate agent, she spent her days surrounded by powerful clients, flawless mansions, and conversations where silence and appearance carried as much weight as spoken words. Early in their marriage, she explained something that stayed with him. She preferred not to wear her ring at work because buyers felt more comfortable with someone who looked neutral. Connor found it odd, but he accepted the argument. Vanessa was persuasive, and he saw no reason to doubt the woman with whom he had just built a new life. Yet as the months passed, small things began to bother him. First, the ring. She took it off before leaving for work, even on days without showings or appointments. Sometimes she said she had meetings but came home later than planned, always with explanations that felt too polished for someone who hadn't even been questioned. When they were together, Vanessa remained fun, affectionate, attentive, yet there were moments when she seemed absent, distracted, as if her mind were somewhere else. Connor tried to push away dark thoughts, blaming her stress, fatigue, and the fast pace of her profession. Then he saw a photo on an acquaintance's Instagram. It was a closing dinner for a real estate event. In the image, Vanessa smiled in a different way. Her hand rested on a man's shoulder, and he gently held her fingers. They stood close, almost like a couple. His name was Travis. A common name, but it echoed in Connor's head for days. After that, something inside him flipped. He began to pay closer attention, and the more he watched, the stranger her routine looked. Vanessa said she had lunch with colleagues but never posted anything. She avoided photos beside him on social media, as if she wanted to keep a single status. One afternoon, Connor remembered a conversation months earlier with an old friend of Vanessa's and decided to reach out. The chat was brief yet revealing. The friend mentioned, unaware of anything, that Vanessa always showed up at office meetings without a ring and had once told a Canadian client she was single because he liked to know the agent's marital status. Connor thanked her, pretended surprise, and hung up. From that moment, everything began spinning faster inside him. What had seemed like imagination turned more and more real. Going home that day felt odd. Vanessa was already there, acting as though nothing had happened, preparing dinner while talking about a tough negotiation she had just closed. Connor watched her, listening to her tone, the pauses between sentences. He noticed she avoided eye contact when she talked about work. The details didn't match earlier versions he remembered. It was as if each story had been carefully assembled but lacked consistency. When she turned to grab something from the cupboard, he saw it. The ring sat in the same spot where she left it every morning, beside the jewelry box, as though it had never been part of her life. He swallowed hard. For the first time in months, Connor realized the doubt was no longer a suspicion. It was a warning. That night he went to bed early, pretending to have a headache and avoiding deeper conversation. Vanessa respected his space, perhaps because she was too distracted by her own messages on her phone. Lying beside her, Connor heard the notifications and her muffled laughter. Each vibration was a hammer blow to his chest. But he held on. He thought he still needed more, something concrete that would keep him from falling into the trap of doubt without proof. He didn't want to be unfair. He wanted certainty, because one line he wouldn't cross was destroying a relationship over baseless jealousy. In the days that followed, he kept watching. Patterns emerged. She always put her phone on silent as soon as she got home, left it face down, and said it was to avoid distractions, but he knew better. One afternoon she told him she had a last-minute meeting at a restaurant with a client. Connor knew there were no showings or events scheduled. He thought about following her but chose not to. It wasn't time yet. Instead, he looked for clues in what was already around him. With every detail, every small gesture, Connor rebuilt a puzzle that had started with a simple ring off her finger. And even without scenes, fights, or arguments, a war had already begun inside him. That silent war started turning into strategy. He knew that losing control meant losing any chance of doing things the right way. What hurt most wasn't Vanessa's possible involvement with another man but the fact that everything had been hidden so skillfully. It felt as though she had studied his every move, anticipated each reaction, and built a parallel routine where he played a supporting role. While she smiled and told neatly packaged stories, he forced himself to smile back, knowing nothing made sense anymore. What once was only suspicion now had clear outlines: name, frequency, digital traces. It was only a matter of time. One day, while adjusting his synced calendar on the computer, Connor noticed a color pattern separating work and personal engagements. A repeated blue event showed up every Tuesday and Thursday around 1 p.m. He clicked out of curiosity. The title read simply, Tea. Sometimes it added brunch, other times, check-in, or even reservation made. It looked subtle, harmless, but the frequency pointed to something bigger. Connor checked the dates. They matched the days she left the house more dressed up, wearing a new perfume, with a different excitement. In one of the entries, she had added a heart emoji. It was like a code between them. There was no direct confirmation, yet it was far too clear to be coincidence. He took a deep breath, closed the calendar, and opened Vanessa's laptop, which, as always, was unlocked on the guest profile. It was strange how confidently she left it there, certain nothing would ever be discovered. Connor knew he needed to dig deeper. He explored carefully, clicking recent tabs and accessing files with altered dates. He found a hidden folder on the desktop. The name was Completed Presentations, but the content had nothing to do with work. Inside were duplicate photos, exported messages, screenshots of conversations with someone signing as TL. And there it was, a full name in a hotel booking screenshot, Trent Lawson. Connor froze for a few minutes, his stomach churning. He reread everything 3 times, as if part of him still wanted to believe there was some other Trent in Vanessa's life, or that maybe this was just coincidence or an old affair. But the messages were recent. One of them read, "This week was the best we've had. I feel alive with you. I can't wait for next Tuesday." Another, a video, showed Vanessa laughing and blowing a kiss. The background was a restaurant Connor knew well. They had dined there together shortly before the wedding. It felt like a punch to the chest. With his eyes fixed on the screen, he started saving everything. He created a protected folder on his own phone, synced it to the cloud, and set a password. That was now the only truth that mattered, the certainty that would guide his next steps. But he wasn't planning an immediate confrontation. He was planning. This was a marriage, with signed contracts, joint accounts, scheduled trips, investments in her name. It wasn't just a breakup, it was the dismantling of a life. And he would do it silently, the same way she had betrayed him, without commotion, without an audience, only with precision. That same day he cancelled the end-of-year trip to Aspen. He called the bank manager for guidance on removing a name from their investments. He booked a meeting with an attorney who specialized in assets and began shifting funds to a private account. He cancelled additional cards, froze the joint line of credit, and requested reports on transactions from the last 3 months. He was in shock, yet acted calmly. Each step was calculated, fueled by pain but also by the knowledge that if he waited, he could lose everything, including himself. That night he came home as if nothing had happened. Vanessa was cooking risotto and buzzing about a new sales opportunity. He smiled, feigned interest, and even poured wine. They spent the evening chatting about trivialities, like any normal couple. But Connor was no longer there. He was miles away, crafting a way to leave with dignity from a marriage that, in practice, had ended the first time she secretly kissed another man. Little by little he erased his traces. He deleted old affectionate texts, removed couple photos from social media, archived wedding memories, and quietly cancelled future plans. He reconfigured the life insurance policy, changed passwords, and cut her access to financial apps. Each small step was a way to protect what was still his. And amid all that, Connor kept a calm front. He went for runs, returned at the same hour, helped around the house, and pretended to fall asleep before her. Because when Vanessa finally closed her eyes, he opened his again and kept building his plan. He knew the right moment would come, and when it did, she wouldn't see it coming, just as he hadn't. The day Connor decided to leave arrived without fanfare. He had everything arranged. The lease for a new apartment was signed. His finances were shielded. Passwords had been changed. The lawyer was drawing up the divorce papers, and the evidence was stored in 3 separate places. Connor woke early, as usual, but this time he didn't get ready for work. Instead, he grabbed a small backpack with the essentials. He wore his normal clothes, made coffee for both of them, left a cup for Vanessa, and walked out the door as though it were just another Tuesday. He left no note, no explanation. He didn't even take his personal phone, he would use a new one bought the day before. And he took with him only what couldn't be left behind, his dignity. Hours later Vanessa tried to pay for something at the market and the transaction was declined. She thought it was a technical glitch. She tried another card. Declined again. She called the bank, which informed her about changes in access permissions. Still confused, she texted Connor asking if he knew anything. No response. She called. It went to voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. Anxiety started to grow. When she arrived home and saw his drawer empty, the closet short of his clothes, she understood. She opened the laptop, saw that several folders had been deleted or moved. She ran to the bedroom, checked the box where they kept documents, and realized the important papers were gone too. Panic took over. At the end of the day Connor sent one message. It contained a single PDF file. Inside were all the conversations between Vanessa and Trent, screenshots with dates, images, and transcriptions. No introduction, no insults, no questions. Only facts. Vanessa called immediately. He declined. She texted, begging to talk. Connor stayed silent. She tried the old number, then sent a voicemail through tears, saying nothing was what it looked like, that it was a mistake, that she was confused, that she never meant things to go this far. Connor listened in silence, deleted the voicemail, and went on with his day as planned, calm, productive, at peace. The next day she showed up at the new address. How she found it, no one knows. She rang the bell over and over. Connor did not open. He stayed still, listening to her voice calling, insisting, asking at least to be heard. He remained silent, hearing each word as echoes of everything he had ignored for too long. When she left, she placed a handwritten letter at the door. She said she loved him, that she was sorry, that everything happened because she felt invisible in the relationship, that Trent was a distraction but never a real threat, that she lacked the courage to end things because deep down she still wanted to fight for them. Connor tore the letter silently, piece by piece, and threw it away without reading it again. In the days that followed, Vanessa tried every possible avenue. She sent flowers with notes, long emails, messages through mutual friends, and even asked her sister for help. Connor heard about all of it and answered none of it. The only reply she got was absolute silence, irreversible absence. But he still had one last card to play, and he did so with the precision of someone wounded to the bone yet committed to the truth. He contacted Lauren Lawson, Trent's wife, the other betrayed partner in this story, and arranged a discreet meeting. When Lauren learned everything, she was speechless. Her world also collapsed. The screenshots Connor provided showed more than intimate messages, they showed hotel meetings, reservations under false names, dinners in secluded places. Lauren cried, thanked him, and left determined. The impact was immediate. Trent lost his job at an investment consultancy where reputation meant everything. Vanessa was suspended from work for conduct that violated the company code. The story leaked in internal groups and soon spread. Some clients canceled contracts. Friends disappeared. Vanessa's image crumbled, not out of revenge, but because the truth asserted itself. When she realized the magnitude of the downfall, she tried again to reconnect with Connor, this time offering colder, almost formal explanations. But it was far too late. He had already gone through it all, already suffered it all, and now he was in another phase, rebuilding. She sent him a friend request on social media. He saw it, left it there, neither accepted nor declined. Because understanding that something is over doesn't require an explicit action. Sometimes the closure lies in the fact that everything has already been said, with proof, with silence, with choices. What remained now was only a digital record of a story that, although it started with promises, ended with absence, with a silent yet definitive goodbye. The divorce was finalized without ceremony, without a hearing or physical presence, just papers, digital signatures, and the official end of something that had died long before. Connor received the notification by email. He opened the file, read the final clauses, and set the laptop aside. He sat on the edge of the bed and stayed quiet for a few minutes. There was no euphoria, no sense of victory. Only a weight lifting off his shoulders, accompanied by a strange stillness. It was as though he had just crossed a bridge far too long and, upon reaching the other side, realized how much he had left behind. And even so, he moved forward without looking back. With the process over, Connor decided to make tangible changes. He left the apartment they had shared, taking only what truly held meaning. He sold some of the furniture and donated the rest. He chose a new place, smaller but functional, a space with no trace of shared memories. He spent the first days arranging the rooms calmly, placing each item where it belonged. It was almost therapeutic. He started waking up earlier, cooking his meals, heading to the store with a handwritten list. He revived old habits he had set aside. He returned to sketching. He bought a new, blank notebook and began to draw project ideas, nothing too ambitious, just a way to let out what he felt without speaking it aloud. And little by little, life found a rhythm. One day, while visiting a cafe near the new building, he met someone. Her name was Allison. She had an easy way of talking, unrushed, and a smile that reminded him of times when he believed love was simple. They started by exchanging a few words, then quick coffees, until one day they walked down the street together with no set destination. There were no promises, no plans. Everything felt light. Connor liked that. For the first time in a long while he felt he could be present, without open wounds bleeding into every sentence. Allison didn't ask about the past, she just listened whenever he chose to speak. And that was enough. Meanwhile, bits of news about Vanessa still reached him, even though he avoided seeking them out. One day he got an unexpected call from his former father-in-law, a straightforward, firm man who had never interfered in their relationship. He said he called only because he thought Connor deserved to know that Vanessa had moved in with her sister and was in therapy. He spoke honestly, without taking sides. Connor listened in silence and thanked him for the call. He didn't feel anger or compassion. He felt clarity. For the first time, he saw that the story was distant enough for him to observe without pain. It was a previous life, a phase that had taught what it needed to. Vanessa made one last attempt. She sent a long message, almost like a letter but digital. She said she wasn't looking for reconciliation, she just wanted to be understood. She explained old feelings, insecurities, flaws she herself couldn't grasp. She said she regretted it, not because she lost Connor but because she lost herself in the process. Connor read every line, finished, blocked the number, and took a deep breath, not because he was still hurting, but because he knew that keeping even the smallest thread of connection meant giving space to what he had worked so hard to leave behind. And he wouldn't do that to himself. Revenge was never the goal. Exposing the truth was simply a way to protect himself and show others that there is a limit to how much someone can swallow in silence. He understood that leaving quietly had been his loudest shout, that absence can weigh more than 1,000 words, and that letting go is often the bravest choice one can make. Staying where you are no longer welcome takes effort, but leaving takes strength. And he left without wishing harm, without looking back, without carrying invisible chains. Today, Connor lives with less, yet feels more. Objects carry stories, conversations have purpose, and the days have flavor. The wounds turned into scars, and the scars, marks of a journey. Vanessa became a closed chapter, neither a trauma nor a ghost, just a reminder that love must be whole even when pretending would be easier. He didn't lose love, he lost only the illusion. And what he gained in its place is far more valuable: peace. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.